people can start losing weight just by making better decisions.
Motivation is driven from the inside out.
Use flexibility as a tool. Rely on structure when it's helpful.
This is where we discuss the possibilities.
Hey guys, I'm Joe Klemczewski, founder of the Diet Doc, here with Dr. Kori Probst, and we are here for our Life Mastery podcast. And today, we're going to be in the Mindset Motivational Mastery category. And Kori, we are going to talk about self-control and discipline, which I know are kind of the pinnacle points. Everybody thinks they need more self-control, more discipline. Mm-hmm. But we just launched this 50 Days to Your Hottest Summer event. And we have dozens and dozens and dozens of clients and coaches, almost 100 total people combined in this team challenge. And we've got some amazing stories happening. It's fantastic to see all of these people supporting each other in the forum. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm seeing some questions and some even changing perspectives on this topic. So discipline, self-control, I need more. We all need more. How do we get it?
Yeah. Super question, Joe. And it's really fun within our Diet Doc community to see all the questions rolling in and for people to be putting out there and describing the experiences that they're having and their perceived barriers or threats within their environment that they're wanting to navigate effectively. And so they'll ask these questions, and I'll talk a little bit about what I've been seeing that kind of led me to want to dive into this topic. But one client said, I have my favorite restaurant that we usually go to. It's this pizza place, but because I really feel like if I even try to have just one slice of pizza, I'm going to go off the deep end. So I typically will order the grilled chicken salad. Well, as part of this challenge, she wants to challenge herself. And, we've been talking about how can she trust herself more to make positive decisions and engage in positive behavior. So she had posted in there, hey guys, just have a bit of an accomplishment to share with everyone. I went out to this restaurant with my family and I actually had 2 slices of pizza and I was able to call it good at that. I didn't binge on more pizza. I didn't go home and binge on other stuff. I didn't go into I already screwed up my macros. I already had 2 slices of pizza. Pizza's not a healthy food, so I might as well just, eat everything in the pantry, sort of an approach.
So just as a quick aside, I recently read that pizza is or has been rated as the most addictive food. So giving people that kind of, amygdala reaction where they just crave it more, they go into hunt mode. And the irony is that is so true with my dog, by the way, of all of the foods, because she wants everything we eat. But when we're eating pizza, she gets frantic and she will just start drooling instantly. And that doesn't happen with any other food. So I got to say pizza, if you can stop at 2, that is imposing some control.
Yeah, well, on that note, there are what are called orexigenic hormones that are released when a food is high in fat, high in carbs, and high in salt.
I was going to say sodium for sure.
Yep, and manufacturers know this. They know it. They know what's going to make people want to come back for more. So, yeah, obviously, kudos to this client in more ways than one. Mm-hmm. But I think that here's one other quick story from a client who posted in the group. She said, I walked into the office today and I smell this amazing aroma of coffee. Like just smelling that kind of it raised my appetite. And then I walked into the break room and there were these really decadent looking chocolate chip cookies. And a lot of us are familiar with that. If we're in a corporate sort of environment, there's always goodies around, right? Donuts, coffee cake, cookies, whatever. And she posted in the group and she's like, what am I going to do? She said, my mantra has been to say to myself, like, believe in yourself, believe in yourself, believe in yourself. She's like, I'm going to be repeating that to me, repeating that to myself over and over today. And I posted, I was like, well, keep repeating that, but how about you actually believe in yourself? So the mantra is helpful, but how about you actually trust that you can do this? But so I wanted to talk today about how in situations like that, so often we are relying on willpower to get us through those tough situations. And it's almost like we're barely on the edge and we're gritting our teeth and we're like, don't go in there, don't go in there, don't go in there, don't get the pizza, don't get the pizza. And it's like, oh, just doing that, tightening up like that there's so much energy that goes into that sort of approach. And
but there are other times, and maybe you're getting to this point, where it just seems easy. Like I can make the best decisions. I'm totally aligned with my goals. And I wouldn't even think of eating the bad stuff.
So I want to talk to you about how we can cultivate that sort of a reaction. So that reaction is the normal reaction for us.
Good.
Because
that's what we need.
Yeah, there are very specific ways that we can do that. So we know that willpower is a finite resource. It's limited. The more we try to draw upon it all day long, and then add on top of that, what if you're fatigued? What if you're super tired? You didn't have a great night of sleep, or you're in an argument with your partner, or the stress at work is super, super high. Now, your willpower is being drained more and more and more and more and more throughout the day. So we don't want to try. Do we need self-control? Absolutely, we need self-control. We need to be able to self-regulate. So how do we build self-control in a way that doesn't rely on like that energy drain? Okay, it doesn't take a whole bunch of effort. So research has shown that there are what are called 3 moral emotions that are really focused on virtuous action. And ultimately, that's what, when we're doing something that is aligned with our goals and that's great for our health and that, puts us on the path towards that future outcome that we're looking for, instead of getting dragged into and mired in that immediate gratification, like, oh my God, chocolate chip cookies. Okay, that's what we're essentially doing, is we are galvanizing our energy around my future self. This is what's important to me in my future. I mean, take retirement, for example. Like, we're able to say, this is what I want my future to look like. And so right now I'm putting this certain amount of money away. That takes a certain level of self-control, of willpower, to not spend all that money once you get your paycheck. And there are ways that you can make that super easy too. So it's, certain amount of money just goes out each month and you never see it. But in this case, the 3 moral emotions, think of them, if you don't like the word moral, think of it as ethical, right? Doesn't have anything to do with religion, but moral or ethical emotions are gratitude, compassion. We've been here before. We talked about self-compassion and how important it is, and pride. And pride isn't that hubristic pride. It's not like conceited, arrogant pride. It's, I recognize what accomplishments I've made, and I'm gonna take the time to assess what those have been and acknowledge that I did that. That's pretty cool. And when we do that, what the research has shown is that we will, when we've recognized and acknowledged our efforts and where we've gotten with them, we are going to put 40% more effort into the tasks involved in getting that future outcome. So we are more aligning with our future self in that case. Now with gratitude, so that is being able to assess and acknowledge what we appreciate. Okay. And there have been very interesting studies done on this too. They've compared groups of people who they've been brought into the lab, and they've divided, they have a neutral group where they've asked these people to just talk about the things that have happened in their day. Okay. They have a grateful group where these people are asked to write down all the things that they're grateful for and that they appreciate. And then they have a happy group where they just are asked to talk about all the things that make them happy. And with this group of people, they've been said, like, you remember the marshmallow experiment by Michelle? Most people are probably really familiar with that. They had kids, yeah, and they were told, you can have this one marshmallow now, but I'm gonna leave the room, and if you don't eat the marshmallow that's right here, when I come back, I'll give you 2. And so what they were really testing is self-control and willpower for these children, and kind of what they did in order to wait. But with this particular experiment, what they did is they said, you know, you have the ability to acquire this much money right now, say it's $35. If you could do that, we'll give that money to you right now if you want to, or in 4 months or 6 months or 8 months, I can't remember exactly what it was, we will send you 3 times that amount. And what they found is that the individuals who were in the grateful group exerted 50% more self-control and waited for the extra money as opposed to saying, no, I want it now. So I think the point to this is, let's capitalize on building our gratitude levels, because the more level of gratitude that people have, the more self-control they show. The same goes for compassion and pride. So I think the next question, Joe, would be, well, how do you build gratitude? You know?
Well, I had a good example of this. I'm in our Nashville headquarters this week, and was speaking with Steve Stewart, our communication director, and we've had a lot of different conversations in all kinds of areas, but this particular one was about this. Nothing to do with self-control or food, but simply when you could say, I'm just not happy about something. So let's take, for example, we were talking about how last time I was in Nashville, the air conditioner in my truck didn't work. And so he was curious, well, does it work now? I hope so, because it's 93 freaking degrees, right? And I said, you know, what's really funny is when I had to spend a couple weeks before I got it fixed, without it, you realize it's not that big of a deal. It's like, you got the windows open. It's not cool, but it's not like you're not dying. And it's like, you just kind of feel like, wow, do I even need this thing?
Yeah.
And so we got on this topic of gratitude, and the fact that just that simple mindset of thinking about what we do have. I have a vehicle that's getting me from point A to point B. It's, you know, and so I think it is something, as you're saying, that just the perspective of being grateful takes you out of your own head, something we talk about a lot, gives you a greater perspective that allows you to be content. So biologically, I'm sure you are just reducing stress.
You are.
All of the cortisol that could make you make impulsive decisions, like, you know, get that 4th and 5th piece of pizza. But you know, there's a lot that goes into that biologically, as well as just sitting down thinking, wow, do I really need to be that indulgent? If I'm grateful for these other things,
absolutely,
my mindset kind of shifts.
Yeah. So I think, you know, what you're getting into is we can practice building gratefulness on a large scale by doing this on a daily basis, sitting down and asking ourselves, what do I appreciate? I actually did this with a couple clients of mine, my mental edge clients, yesterday. We started off the conversation that way. And it was very funny what happened, because the way that it happened first was they mentioned like all the big things. Like, well, getting along really well with my coworkers. So they went to work and they went to school and they went to the weather and they went to their health. But then I asked them to get a lot more granular. Like, can we get more finite? Like, let's drill into each one of those things. And it was so funny that both of them would be like, well, I think that's all I have off the top of my head. And if I just waited 2 seconds, then they started spouting off other things. And I think that's all. Oh, I have all these other things too. But so if we take the time on a daily basis to actually jot down the things that we are grateful for, and a lot of times I like to use, you've heard me say it, appreciate. That helps me get more granular. Grateful does seem like, oh, it's these big macro level things, but what do I appreciate? Well, we got into things like, you know, when my client walked into the gym, the person at the front desk smiled at her. You know, the simple little things like that, but that can, when you notice them and you take them in, they can really amp up your positive vibes. But so, like, that's macro level. But then what you mentioned too was acutely in the moment when, for example, my client is walking by the break room and she sees the chocolate chip cookies and she notices the thought like, oh man, those look really good, to automatically flip the switch and have the second thought, wow, you know what? I am so grateful for, and then fill in the blank. It really is a practice of shifting attention. And that's part of self-control. And part of what, and you know, we'll probably get into this in another podcast, we've talked about it in a previous one, part of what helps build that ability to shift your attention and to have the second thought is mindfulness, is having a practice of mindfulness. And a lot of people don't really know what that means. It sounds airy-fairy and weird and like it's going to take too much time, but you know, 5 minutes a day, just learning how to shift your attention or just focusing on your breathing. And when your mind wanders off and you notice it, you bring it back to your breathing.
First of all, I would never have thought gratitude is linked to self-control. So that's a huge thing I think we need to come back to and emphasize to this. But also, it was a Harvard psychologist, Sean something, wrote a book, The Happiness something. I forget.
Happiness Advantage, maybe?
Yes, The Happy Advantage or something like that. And I think that was one of his biggest things was, you know, he either started or made popular the whole process of every morning when you wake up, you know, think of something that you're grateful for or write it down. I know other counselors have encouraged their clients to do that as soon as you wake up, have a gratitude journal. Dr. Dwayne Dyer, I don't know if you recall that, I think he said the first thing he does every morning when he wakes up, as his feet are touching the floor, he repeats the words, thank you 3 times. So just immediately having that sense of, wow, just being alive is a gift. Like what an amazing thing and an amazing opportunity I have just to go through this day. If you can start out like that, you're probably not going to have too shitty of a day, right?
Absolutely. I mean,
everything's going to be a little easier.
And to practice that throughout the day too, having some sort of a cue, like every time you walk through a doorway, for example, you know, I'm thankful to be alive. I'm thankful that I have the opportunity to walk through this doorway. Like really, it's pretty darn cool what we have these opportunities to do and practice and learn and grow through in our lives. But I think too, just to notice, because there's all these books about like feelings and that emotions are bad and we want to get away from them. Well, I've just listed 3 of them that are amazing for helping build this capacity that we all need and want more of if we're going to succeed. And so why not capitalize on those? Of course, there are emotions like, you know, if we're really stuck in sadness, for example, then, or depression, or like lust or desire, those types of emotions do lead to more impulsive behavior. If we're sad and we want to immediately feel better, we may grab for that food that's going to feel very rewarding to us. But that's separate from, and these three emotions we can really capitalize on building, in order to counteract that immediate gratification sort of behavior.
Yeah, and what a great application point. I know in this podcast, we didn't have time really to talk about the final two, which were pride and compassion as much, but that would be a great chapter 2 to this podcast. Just as an application point, I can already, my mind is spinning as I think, okay, next time I really feel hungry or I feel like I just have to have that snack or something, just to sit down and go through any type of gratitude prompt as you're describing, I can instantly see how it's not just a distraction.
Yeah.
The fact that we're talking about overdoing something, over consuming food, or pick whatever other topic you want with self-control. I mean, we could talk about many, I'm sure, to think, wait a second, let me be happy and content for a moment about what I do have. That's going to make a huge impact on why I think I have to just keep grabbing more and more and more.
Yeah.
That's really profound, I think.
It moves us out of this grasping sort of approach and that sense of urgency, because just moving into that space of gratitude puts us in a relaxed place. It moves us into, grateful people are more giving. They're not about taking. And immediate gratification is all about taking. Grateful people give more, and they receive with more softness. So it completely changes our emotional state, and with practice can really become a trait.
Yeah, what a powerful thing. So you are filling up our list of the things we have to keep talking about now in motivational mastery. So we're going to finish this in an upcoming motivational mastery podcast. But you also mentioned something that somebody may perceive as negative emotions like depression. And I definitely want to talk about some of that eventually, because we keep talking about all these great things that we can strive toward in terms of self-development. And there are some things in life that are not just creating negative emotion, but they are things we really need to address. They're cues and triggers. So even though I'm exactly like you in terms of I don't like to talk about emotions judgmentally, good or bad, it's a matter of kind of taking inventory at some points and thinking about how we might be living better if we adjust some things. But we're gonna tackle a lot of big topics coming up, I think.
Yeah, thank you for that, Joe. I believe that all emotions they're valuable because they can point us towards something important. So when you're talking about depression, something important is going on, and it needs our attention, it needs our focus, and especially with some of the things that are happening right now in society and with veterans and, with the recent, like you and I have been talking about with Anthony Bourdain, it needs attention. It's not something to be ignored, and emotions are not something to be ignored. So,
right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, plenty to get after in the next couple weeks. And we want to thank you guys. We're going to have an appreciation or gratitude purge here, just in saying that we love and thank you guys for supporting us. We've been getting so many great comments and questions and shares. So please keep doing that, because we want to reach people and help with all of this great information that Kori is giving. So with that, thank you, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.